Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a beautiful Saturday evening. Hi LFC, how are you, my brother? Good to have you back on the channel. Yes. Welcome back from your weekend, your rugby game today. Were you triumphant? Did your team win? How did it go? The last time we had an engagement on a similar note, your game had ended in defeat. So how did it go? I'm currently watching Wednesday, so you know what's gonna happen. I understand. Congratulations upon the win. Oh, you're watching Wednesday. I thought you were catching up on the Chelsea game. Chelsea's goalless against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that game just headed into halftime. So, anyways, for us here, we will be keeping tabs on that as we go on through this broadcast, but also we'll be looking at what happened earlier on in the Premier League where Arsenal dropped points against Sunderland. Very, very difficult game, very entertaining game. It had a lot to offer, and I think Arsenal will be the more disappointed side given the manner in which they dropped all those 3 points. But take nothing away from Sunderland. I thought they really gave it their go. They did their best. They dug in quite deep. Played with, low block with 10 men behind the ball. They really did a lot to frustrate Arsenal's efforts for the better part of the game. And yeah, we'll be discussing that. And then we'll look at also the other 2-all draw that was earlier on in the day. Our prediction had been a 1-all draw between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. But they took it a notch higher and made a 2-2 draw. A game that Tottenham thought had won, given how late their goals came. When you look at, when you look at the equalizer, when you look at what was supposedly supposed to be the winning goal, and then Matthias de Ligt rising high to sort of cancel that out and make sure that all the points were shared on the day. So, that's what we'll be digesting. In the Spanish La Liga, last I checked, Atletico de Madrid were beating up against Levante. Was it Levante by 3-1, in that game? So Como at the end of another goalless draw, in the Italian Serie A. So that's some of the action that did happen. Everton, the better side as they beat up against Fulham today. So really, and then West Ham going ahead to win as we had predicted. Not the perfect score, but at least they won, and that's what we'll be looking at. So quickly, where do we start? Let's start with the hottest cake. That's the Arsenal game, because they are at the summit of the Premier League table, and they had a disappointing result in their 2-all draw against Sunderland. I say disappointing because they know they could have taken 3 points away. They know that they could have defended that 2-1 lead and possibly gotten away with 3 points, but they also conceded 2 goals in a game for the first time in the Premier League this season, and for the first time this season entirely. Then also they conceded for the first time after keeping 8 consecutive clean sheets. For those of you that were part of our different previews for this particular game, I kept telling you time and again that I just had this gut feeling that Arsenal were bound to concede. So they were by far the better team. You do not get to be a title contender and go away to Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, and you're not the better team. Referee Craig Paulson is one that a section of Arsenal fans may not be too happy with, but Arsenal really pushed for it. They had an XG of 2.09. Now, they had some chances that they could have put away, but did not put away. One fell to Bukayo Saka, another fell to Martin Zubimendi, and actually I think 2 fell to Bukayo Saka, but they could not make them count. Arsenal had a total number of shots 17 shots on goal. Only 7 were on target, and they could only score with 2, including Leandro Trossard going from distance. This time around, they could not make set pieces count because Sunderland did everything they could to neutralize that, despite but also they were limited. Sunderland made sure that they do not concede 1 too many corners in this game. They conceded only 2. pretty much what Arsenal themselves also conceded on the other side. Sunderland had 6 shots on goal, only 2 were on target, and those are the shots they scored with, because apparently the ones on the 2 different occasions when David Raya rose to the occasion to save, I don't know if they didn't consider that or what, but the Sunderland goalkeeper had 9 saves. There was 1 for David Raya. At least that's what the statistics show. Beautiful game of football, but also you could feel it that Mikel Arteta was lost for ideas, not in terms of how to guide his team through the game, but when he looked to the bench, he looked devoid of ideas. He looked short of numbers, of game changers, given how physical this game had been. He looked to the bench and he saw Ethan Nwaneri, Miles Lewis-Kelly, Max Dorman, Andre Harriman Anos as some of the sort of forward players from midfield onwards. I mentioned Miles Lewis-Kelly because naturally he's a midfielder. He looked to those and clearly thought to himself, ain't no way I'm throwing in Max Dorman against this very, very physical side of Sunderland. Ain't no way I'm throwing in Andre Harriman. He's pretty much a novice. And Ethan Nwaneri, again, he does not have the physicality. We know that. Yes, he may win a few physical battles here and there, but overall, when you looked at the context of the Sunderland game, he wouldn't offer him much. So he literally, practically stuck out with the team that he started with and made the substitution he made was that of Ebeleche Eze to bring on Christian Mosquera, and whereas I thought it was an okay decision to make, but it sort of further pushed Arsenal back into their own half. In the first half, there were not so many There were not too many opportunities created for Arsenal. I thought they struggled to find their footing in the game. I thought Sunderland were better physically. Arsenal were getting on the ball a good amount of times, but they could not make it count, and things like that. So that's how the game was going for them, That's how the game was going for them, really. And I looked at it in the sense that they needed to do better to find a breakthrough, if they were to find a breakthrough in that game. Of course, they went behind by halftime, thanks to that 36-minute goal scored by Ballard. Again, a lapse in concentration because I think it was a set piece. Declan Rice doesn't fight enough for that first ball. Second ball, Gabriel Magalhaes doesn't do enough. And then suddenly the shot 5 is in the box and he goes on to score past David Raya, who had not been brought to action in the game whatsoever. Then eventually it went to 1-0 into halftime, and then Arsenal came back as a much, much better side in the second half. They were creating, they were faster on the ball, they were taking risks in terms of particularly using that channel of Leandro Trossard, the left wing, and things like that. They did so many things right, and then Sunderland tried to be smart, got caught playing out of the back, and then that's how that's how Bukayo Saka scored to restore parity, and it was 1-1. And then in the 74th minute, a goal that you felt was always going to come, although not in the manner in which it came, Leandro Trossard from distance, he looked, he looked to his stronger foot and said, why not? He had a go at it and he hit the target, and it was 2-1. So Arsenal held on to that for about 20 minutes. They really tried to dig in. They defended well. There were a few scrappy moments until that moment in the 4th minute of added time, because there were 7 minutes of added time in the game. A game that had 9 minutes of added time in the first half. It's not a complaint, it's just a statement of fact. But in the first half, it was completely understandable. There were so many stops for head injuries that happened in the course of the game. Yuan Timber needed treatment and a couple of other players. So the 9 minutes in the opening stanza were quite justifiable. For as far as the second half is concerned, that was to the discretion of the referee to say, okay, maybe we celebrated 2 goals here. We've had a couple of stops here and there. It's another 7 minutes. So that's all for Craig Paulson. So, and like I said, it's not a complaint, just a mention or a statement of fact. Now, In the 94th minute, Brody, Broby scores to make it 2-2. Now, could they have defended better? I think Arsenal could have defended better. There was a complaint for a possible high boot, but because Gabriel Magalhaes does not get a touch on that ball with his header, none whatsoever, I think that's why it's not given as a foul. David Raya had come out to contest for the same ball, and then the sort of backflip, by Broby gets the better of him, and it was 2-2, so it finished 2-2. Arsenal are dropping points. Our own prediction had been a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. Unfortunately, they could not hold on to that 2-1 lead. And you could see the predictor in me for the 2-1 victory for Arsenal was literally nail-bite watching through that game, but also the Arsenal fan in me was doing the same. A bit of tensions, the nervousness when you're holding on to your dear life in terms of a narrow victory. And this further speaks to what I've already said, that for as long as you have a marginal lead of 1-0 of that one goal cushion, you can always lose it at any moment in the game. It could be the 96th minute of the game. It could be the last kick of the game. It could be through a penalty. It could be through a brilliant free kick. It could be through a corner and the ball is headed in. It could be in any fashion whatsoever. It could be a lapse of concentration and you concede and then suddenly you drop 2 points, and practically that is what happened today. So I thought Bukayo Saka had a slow first half. He was less effective. Sunderland really closed them down. They denied Arsenal space through the spine, through the middle line. They always pushed them to the sideways, to Bukayo Saka, to Leandro Trossard's wing, where you had Calafiori as well, Julian Timber, So they created some goal-scoring chances or opportunities, but were not clinical enough on the day. Then also we saw that Arsenal really missed Victor Gyökeres, and this is not an indictment or a criticism to Mikel Merino's performance on the day. Even though I thought it was lacking in some moments, I think they could have used the physicality of Victor Gyökeres in this kind of moments. They could have used, his runs that help Arsenal create spaces within certain areas as he drags our defenders in certain positions, because he is that attraction magnet, because they know what he is capable of. So once he makes the move, you ought to follow him so that he doesn't harm you. But in those movements, following him up, that's how you end up creating space for the likes of Leandro Trossard, for the likes of Bukayo Saka to thrive. So I think today is one of those games that we've seen Arsenal's lengthy injury list really impacting them, because I did think to myself that if, for example, they had Martin Odegaard, I think they could have done better with him in this game. I think if they had Victor Gyökeres, maybe the result would have been different. I get the feeling if Kai Havertz was available, maybe something would have changed. Noni Madueke, because there came moments where I felt, especially going into the last 10 minutes of the game or so, I felt that they needed fresh legs on the pitch. I looked at Leandro Trossard. He looked tired. He had run his ground. Most of those Arsenal players had run their strength out. It's not like they did not have more to give, but you sort of felt it, that, you needed a swap of legs. And yet Sunderland had their swap of legs, and basically because Brian Bobby was a second half substitute, came on in the 63rd minute, thereabout, replacing Isido, So those fresh legs really helped Sunderland much more than you could give credit to them, and Arsenal really lacked that, because like I've told you, their bench was, to say the least, lightweight compared to the players that they are missing out through injury. You hope, you thought yourself in some moments, if they had Gabriel Martinelli on the bench, who would have come on to offer that more pace, and not just pace going forward, but also in terms of helping with the recoveries, So they really lacked that, and at the end of the day, they fell to Sunderland. It ended 2-2. I thought Sunderland really gave them a lot of trouble when it came to their physicality. Granit Xhaka had a very good game. He led his team really well. Baldi had a good game. Mokele had a good game. Mandava had a good game. it's really, really hard to look around. Sadiq equally had a good game. It's really hard to look around and, fault any Sunderland player for maybe an underperformance or maybe for having not given enough. Martin Zubimendi in Arsenal side, I thought was good in that midfield. Leandro Trossard, I thought was excellent. Bukayo Saka, like I've told you, I thought he had a very, very slow start. First half, Ebeleche Eze had, I think, 2 moments. One hitting the ball with his weaker foot and it went over the bar. Then the other, the goalkeeper saved or corrected quite easily. That was in the second half. Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba, I thought did okay. Urian Timber, I thought in some moments wasn't really as good as you would have loved him. Karafiori, same applies for him. I thought it was an underperformance from him compared to how good we've seen he can be this season. He did not do the inverting role well enough. I think the context of the game or the setup of Sunderland forced them to change strategy, because we did not see so many inverting, kind of play where you have Urian Timber and Ricardo Carafiori constantly roll around into midfield and things like that. But I thought it was a very, very decent performance from both sides. I think, in all fairness, you feel happy for Sunderland that they managed to scrap away a point at least. But also, if you are an Arsenal fan, you feel dismayed that you went behind, rose from behind, took a lead, and you are just a couple of minutes away from all 3 points. Never meant to be. Now, in terms of the Premier League table, they remain at the summit. I said this, that regardless of whatever happens across all results in the Premier League, Arsenal will maintain their slot at the summit of the Premier League. But it will reduce the point deficit between them and other title contenders or other teams that are trying to push them. We are still waiting for some of those results. We saw some of them already. Then the other important thing was, is this usually Arsenal have a Black November? And is this the start of their Black November? Because if we are being honest, when you look at their next upcoming games after the international break, I would say it's not very, very encouraging, because up next is the North London Derby against Tottenham Hotspurs. Then after Tottenham Hotspurs, like I told you, they have Bayern Munich in the UEFA Champions League. Then after that, they will play away to Chelsea. Sorry, they will play Chelsea because that London Derby against Tottenham Hotspurs will be away from home. And then subsequent to that, they will play Chelsea still away. So they will have 2 consecutive away games in the Premier League. That's in London derbies. That means they will have played 4 consecutive Premier League games away from home. Remember, they played Burnley away, won that one by 2-0. They played Sunderland away at the Stadium Light 2-2. Next will be Spurs away from home and Chelsea away from home. So 4 consecutive games Arsenal will play, and those games will be away from home. So I think those being away trips, the distance won't matter, but what will really, really matter is that they won't have the home advantage, and they will be against very, very big, big sides. A lot will be at stake for Arsenal going into those fixtures. So then, okay, because Chelsea's game will wrap up November. So, like I said, they usually have a Black November. Can they better their fortunes? Because in December, their first game will be on the 3rd of December. It will be midweek against Brentford. That's when they return home. So, anyways, in the other results of the day, Everton beat up against Fulham by 2-0, like I've told you. Those goals came from Idris Ganagué and Michael Keane, the defender. So our prediction had been a 1-1 draw, but Fulham could not, keep a point in that one. Then our prediction for West Ham beat up against Burnley by 3-2. Our prediction had been a 2-1 victory for West Ham, but I'm really, really happy for Nuno Espirito Santo that they were able to get all 3 points to win back-to-back Premier League games for the first time this season. On the back of beating up against Newcastle by 3-1, they followed it up with a 3-2 victory against Burnley. Callum Wilson scored in the first half to cancel out Fleming's opener in the 35th minute, and then Thomas Suchek came off the bench to score in the 77th minute, and then in the 87th minute it was Carl Walker-Peters who scored to make it 3-1, and then Colin scored in the 7th minute of added time for what turned out to be Burnley's second consolation on the night. Now, that victory meant that West Ham are equal on points, that's 10 points, with Burnley on the Premier League table. Then, as we speak, Chelsea and Wolves, that game is ongoing. So far, it is still goalless. Chelsea are in the lead. Chelsea have just scored. So Chelsea are leading the game by a goal to nil. A goal to nil. My attention was off of that game for a second, and then Chelsea went on to score. So Chelsea, has the goal been cancelled? Let's see. Just a moment. Indulge me on this one. Garnacho, Cucurella, Garnacho. Cross in, goal, Malo Gusto. Yep. Chelsea leading by goal to nil through Malo Gusto. Alejandro Garnacho providing the assist in that one. I thought for a second he did look offside because there were 2 Chelsea players running or trying to run onto the end of that ball, really. But beautiful goal. Garnacho really that decent provision. Well-weighted cross he delivers to beat this Wolves side, who were did really well, were very organized in the first half. Of course, if Chelsea had been clinical, they could have had some opportunities, but the run was timed to perfection, I think. Pedro Neto was the other player at the back post trying to run onto that ball, but Malo Gusto beat him to it, and he scored from close range with a brilliant header. So Chelsea lead by a goal to nil. Now, in the other fixture, Manchester United shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw with Tottenham Hotspur. Our prediction on the channel had been a 1-1 draw between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. I thought, to be fair, it was a boring game for a huge part of the game, until late on in the second half that it started feeling edgy, that it started becoming more entertaining, if we are being honest. So, and what did happen was Brandon Mbomo scored a brilliant header with Amadou Diallo providing the assist. He floated in that ball. Tottenham's defense were caught napping, and he scored, and it was 1-0. Now, that was in the 32nd minute of the game. It took until the 84th minute through Matthias Tel, the second half substitute, to score in the 84th minute the equalizer. He receives the ball, makes a good turn, and strikes it first time. The ball takes a deflection off Matthias Delit, and then beats Sonny Lomans in goal, and it was 1-1. Then in the first minute of added time, Richarlison scored a beautiful goal. Now, I do not remember who exactly was trying to shoot that ball, but he was in the right position. He wasn't offside, and he takes a flick of the head on that ball, and it goes into the back of the net, and it was 2-1. So many thought, wow, Tottenham have snatched it late. But like I told you in the build-up, Tottenham have struggled to win games at home. They've really struggled to win games at home, and they've not been creative enough at home, so in the literally more or less the final kick of the game, Manchester United won a corner kick. It was floated in well by Bruno Fernandes, and guess who was at the end of it? Matthias Delit. He headed home and beat Vicario. Guillermo Vicario did his best to try and save that, but he could only push it further into the net, and the game ended 2-2. Again, when you look at their XG, Tottenham had 0.92, United had 0.63. So that tells you United had 2 shots on target, and those were the goals. Tottenham had 4. Total shots on target were 10-5 between Tottenham and Manchester United. Big chances created were 1-1 on either side. So corner kicks were 5-3 in favor of Tottenham Hotspurs. So that's why I'm telling you that for a good part of the game, it was a muted kind of performance. It did not have much to offer. Unfortunately for Manchester United, second half substitute, and this is what really happened, is that Manchester United exhausted their changes. The likes of Manuel Ugarte had come on for Casemiro. They had withdrawn Nusa Mazorui for Benjamin Sesko, among other changes that they did make within that starting 11. I think Matthias Cunha is one of those that was withdrawn. I think for Mason Mount. Then Harry Maguire paved the way for Lenny Yoro. I do not know why, but and then Joshua Zirkzee. Sorry, not Joshua Zirkzee. Diego Dalot, I think, was one of those that was brought on, because he did not start this game. It was Patrick Dogu that started the game. So I do not know why Ruben Amorim is hell-bent on always making a centre-back change. Now, it's not the reason they got accosted points today, but I never understand it. Nonetheless, so Benjamin Sesko comes on. He had 2 key moments, 2 big chances, where I thought if he struck that ball quick enough, he could have given Manchester United a goal. And this was before the equalizer. This was before Tottenham's equalizer. So then he gets injured, bit of awkward. I don't know exactly what happened to him, but he went to the ground and he was checked by the doctors, and he just went out, walked straight under the tunnel, and that was it. Because Man United had exhausted their substitutions, the 5 substitutions, that meant that they were reduced to 10 men by the virtue of that fact. So being reduced to 10 men put them at a very big disadvantage. That's why they get, particularly for the second goal they concede, they did not have the numerical advantage, and they conceded. For that, in itself, was a misfortune, because usually a manager, once you exhaust your changes with more than 10 minutes still to play, you stand that risk that if you lose a player through injury, then you're going to be reduced to 10 men. But also, it's not different from you getting a red card, which is also a possibility. So that's why I do not want to make it a huge fuss or a huge point of he should have known better to, not exhaust his changes that early. I cannot make that that sort of argument, I cannot make that argument, because we know that when it comes to numerical advantage, you can't get a red card. You can't get 2 red cards. So that cannot be the point. In any case, you can't still make the change in the 90th minute, then 6 minutes are added, and still have a player get injured and they cannot continue. And for those 6 minutes of added time, you still play the game with 10 men. So it's just misfortune that it ended up that way. So the game finished at 2-2. I think both sides will be happy with the point, but Manchester United will be the happier side with the points, because this is for the second consecutive time they have scored a late equalizer. You remember last weekend they scored a late equalizer against Nottingham Forest, Amadou Diallo. They thought they had snatched it at the tail end of it through Amadou Diallo, but that shot was, I think, saved, or blocked or something, but it just did not go in the very dying minutes of the game. So that's what did transpire on Saturday in as far as the Premier League is concerned. and all the action is there for the check-in tomorrow. And like I said, as we speak, Chelsea are in action against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We are into the hour. We are into through the first hour of the game, and Chelsea are still leading by 1-0. That goal by Malo Gusto, who doesn't score very often for Chelsea. But tomorrow, Aston Villa will be up against Bournemouth. Brentford will take on Newcastle. Crystal Palace will be at home against Brighton, while Leeds travel to Nottingham Forest. And then Manchester City will be up against Liverpool. So if you're an Arsenal fan, you're praying for a draw between Manchester City and Liverpool. You do not want any winners. But if you're a Liverpool fan, you're also not just praying to win the game. You had better not lose. You had better not lose. There's a big question that was posed, and perhaps we will get time to discuss this in the course of the week. If you're Arsenal, who would you rather be chasing it down in the title race? Would you rather Liverpool or Man City? I think, for me, quickly or shortly, it's a case of a double-edged sword. Which side would you like to be cut with? You know, both sides cut. Which one would you rather, be cut with? I'd rather none. So basically, that's how I can sum it up. But for now, let's continue to watch the developments from that game between Chelsea and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Like I said, it's still 1-0 in favor of Chelsea, But quickly, we can also look at the other results from other leagues. Girona beat up against Deportivo Alaves by 1-0 in the Spanish La Liga. Sevilla won by 1-0 against Osasuna, while Atletico de Madrid beat up against Levante by 3-1. As we speak, Villarreal are leading Espanyol by 2-0. Those goals coming from Moleiro and Gerard Moreno. Those are the goal scorers there for Villarreal. In the other games, in the German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich faltered. They were forced into a 2-2 draw against Union Berlin. In a game where Union Berlin had a goal ruled out by VAR. That goal was scored by Anash. Luis Diaz scored a brilliant goal in that game. Hurricane scored very late in the 3rd minute of stoppage time to secure a point for Bayern Munich to ensure that they extend their unbeaten run. So they conceded 2 goals, but more importantly, they equally, Arsenal were close to winning, Bayern Munich were close to losing. So looks like those two sides are not that invincible as they would want to be. But in the other results from the German Bundesliga, Borussia Mönchengladbach beat up against Cologne by 3-1. Hoffenheim beat up against RB Leipzig by 3-1. Hamburg SV and Borussia Dortmund, that one ended in a 1-1 draw, while Bayer Leverkusen put 6 past Heidenheim. Oh, come on, Chelsea. Can't do better in that moment. Meanwhile, my prediction was a 3-1 victory for Chelsea in this game. So, anyways, quickly, like I was saying, Bayer Leverkusen put 6 past Heidenheim. Patrick Schick scored a brace in that one, as well as Maza, a brace in that one. Poku was the other goal scorer, and then Hoffman, were the goal scorers in that one. Quickly, in as far as the German Bundesliga table is concerned, Bayern Munich still at the summit of things with 9 victories, 1 draw, which was today against Union Berlin, 0 losses. 35 goals scored, only 6 conceded. They scored so many goals, conceded 28 points. RB Leipzig comes second, and they lost today with 22 points. Borussia Dortmund in 3rd place, Bayer Leverkusen in 4th place, Hoffenheim in 5th, VfB Stuttgart 6th, Werder Bremen 7th, Eintracht Frankfurt 8th, 9th is Cologne. Bottom three are Heidenheim, Mainz, and St. Pauli. That's what is happening in the German Bundesliga, for those of you that care to know. In the Italian Serie A, like I told you, Como and Cagliari ended in a goalless draw, as did Lecce and Hellas Verona. Juventus have just been forced into a goalless draw against Lecce. Thank God I did not watch that one. And as we speak, AC Milan are up against Parma. That game is still 2-2. It's in the 81st minute. Salamancas and Rafa Riao are the goal scorers for AC Milan, while Del Prato and Barnabe are the goal scorers for Parma. So that is what is happening on those respective sides, or those are the results from those respective leagues. In the French League One, Chelsea 2-0 up. Joao Pedro, the goal scorer, beautiful goal. Chelsea are 2-0 up. Like I said, my prediction was 3-1 in favor of Chelsea, and so far they are leading by 2-0. So in the French League One, Marseille beat up against Brest by 3-0. Le Havre and Nantes shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, while as we speak, AC Monaco are being handed a serious thumping. They are 4-1 behind Lens. Monaco's only goal was scored by Florian Balogun from the penalty spot. So, but yeah, Chelsea are leading by 2-0 against Wolverhampton Wanderers. William Estaval with the assist. Brilliant cutback. Joao Pedro is unmarked in around the penalty spot, and it takes good aim, and it's 2-0 in favor of the Blues. Now, if Chelsea win, then remember they did come into this game in 9th place with 17 points. Sorry, in 8th place with 17 points. If they win, that takes them to 20 points. That means they go second if they win, which I know they will win. So, and for those of you that care to remember, this is what I've been always telling you about the Premier League table or any league table. Now, Chelsea, who came into this fixture as 8th placed, if they win, they go to 20 points, and those 20 points take them second as they await for Man City to play Liverpool tomorrow. That means, regardless of what happens between those, between Man City and Liverpool, the lowest they can sink on the Premier League table is third. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? So that's the nature of league football. That's the nature of league football. So let's just wait and see how things will go for them, for those sides respectively. But for now, let's enjoy the action from Stamford Bridge. Oh, Malo Gusto had the running in there. I thought he was going to make it count, but looks like he couldn't. But Chelsea are playing on the front foot. Enzo Fernandez trying to go from distance, but way off. Two Brazilians combining for Chelsea to make it 2-0, although William Estaval's cutback takes a bit of a deflection of the defender, so the assist may not be given to him. When you look at the Premier League statistics, abroad Erling Haaland leads the top scorers with 13 goals. Igor Thiago, Danny Welbeck, Anton Semenyo, Joan Felipe Mateta, Brandon Mbumo, Jean Felipe Mateta all have 6 goals, and Brandon Mbumo has 5 goals. Nick Voltmada, Kropi, Junior Kropi, and Jadon Anthony, Ilman Ndiaye all have 4 goals. Assists, Hartman from Burnley, Kudos, Grealish all have 4. Xhaka, Malik Diouf, Yankuba Minte, Joao Pedro, Antoine Semenyo, Jeremy Doku, Bruno Fernandes all have 3 assists. In terms of most passes completed, Virgil van Dijk tops the charts at 780. Elliot Anderson follows there from Nottingham Forest with 743. Lewis Dunk, William Saliba, Martin Zubimendi, Gabriel Magalhaes. Arsenal have 2 centre backs in the top 10. You know, and then Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice follow in there. So then in terms of clean sheets, David Raya has 7, Nick Pope has 5, Robin Rofis of Sunderland has 4, just as much as Jordi Petrovic, Robert Sanchez of Chelsea, Guillermo Vicario, Dean Henderson all have 4 clean sheets. With Jordan Pickford, one of the best goalkeepers there is in the Premier League in terms of keeping clean sheets, season in, season out, is still currently at 3. Same applies for Gianluigi Donnarumma. The last thing Chelsea want is another Wesley Fofana injury. He's limping here. Looks like he wants to come back on, but the way he's limping with that knee doesn't look very, very promising. If I'm Chelsea, I do not risk it. I do not risk it. We're going into the international break. I withdraw him, have a 2-0 lead, bring on a Tosin Aderabio, a Benoit Badiashile, a Joshua Achepong to play alongside Chaloba, or even pull Caicedo into that role, bring a midfielder like Romeo Lavia in that midfield. Just do not risk it. And it's 3-0 Chelsea on the counter-attack. Pedro Neto, the goal scorer. Alejandro Garnacho providing his 2nd assist of the night. His pace is everything in getting this goal. The Argentine combining with the Portuguese to make it 3-0 for Chelsea. Our prediction is almost as good as that. Wolves just need to score 1, and then it will have been a perfect score prediction. 3-1 Chelsea. Alejandro Garnacho, Enzo Fernandez plays him that ball before he reaches the center line, and he paces forward. He just paces forward. Very athletic. For a player who has been overly substituted in some of the last couple of games, is really, really having quite the impact. And Makio is young. He's a young player. He can still be developed into a better player. He just needs to add more numbers to his game in terms of goals and assists. Same thing I demand from Pedro Neto. They need numbers, because that's what modern day wingers are all about. You may not score much, but you can't assist as much as you can. Wolves have given away too much space in this second half, and they are getting punished for it. They've not been as compact as they were in the first half. Not compact in the sense that they sat back with a low block or anything, but they were more organized. They denied Chelsea that sort of ample time on the ball, which Chelsea seem to be enjoying in the second half. Wesley Fofana is back on the turf and looks good. Esteval. Come on. It's a man's game. So, like I told you, Chelsea will be going second if they win here, which they are going to. And they will be 6 points behind the leaders. Arsenal. The best result that can happen to any of Arsenal and Chelsea tomorrow is a draw between Man City and Liverpool. Or if anything, they would all rather Liverpool win. Because if Liverpool win, it takes them to 21 points. So they will be second. About 5 points behind Arsenal. So Chelsea making more changes, introducing Rachel James and Facundo Benanote. Malo Gusto, the one paving the way. Malo Gusto opened the scoring for Chelsea. Then Pedro Neto, Pedro Neto has been withdrawn for Mark Gui. Mark Gui is a striker, not Facundo Benanote. Apologies on that one. Meanwhile, he had gone on loan on Sunderland and he had to be recalled back when Liam Delap suffered that injury. Meanwhile, thought I should get some match reaction. McGee almost got a goal. He hit the base of the upright. Goalkeeper had fumbled that one. Meanwhile, in part of his post-match reaction, Mikel Arteta was reflecting on that game, on that 2-2 draw against Sunderland today, and he did say that they conceded 2 similar goals, which shouldn't be happening at this level. He said, we conceded 2 very similar goals, which is not good enough from ourselves. The team showed incredible resilience and courage. That's a part of what he said in his most post-match, reaction. We're going to be looking for one more, he did say, very odd sights that are there. But I think it's important if we pull some of his words from that. Excuse me. Arsenal Kong is saying, as his own match reaction, hi, it's me, Royal. Hi, boss Royal. How are you doing, my brother? How is the going? It's been a while. Are you okay? So I was saying King Kong here, or FC Kong says, I'm not criticizing Mikel Arteta, but I feel he should have brought in fresh legs. I know we have many injured quality players, but something to bring calm and energy to the team after our lead 2-1. Exactly. This is what we were speaking about earlier on. But I did say he looked at the physicality of the game and the nature of the game, and he did not trust enough that the players he had, especially from midfield and going forward, because that's why he needed many of those changes, were not good enough. Were not good enough. I remember saying this, and I think I said it in hindsight, not knowing that he had not been on the bench. I was asking why, because I was saying it was time to bring on to bring on what's his name? To bring on Christian Nogard, in that game. I thought they could have used him in midfield, but he wasn't even, he wasn't in the matchday squad, And that's what everybody's saying. We needed fresh legs, and that's true. But given the physicality of the game, I cannot blame Mikel Arteta for not making those changes, for not making those changes. Because it's not like he was going to throw on Hincapi and Mosquera and Ben White as his changes, Although he could have, maybe after the 92nd minute or the 90th minute. But yeah, they could have used some fresh legs. Andre Santos and Gianni Gittens have come on. Joao Pedro among those are withdrawn as we look to wind that game down between Chelsea and Wolverhampton Wanderers. We're into the 84th minute of the game already. So, but anyways, back to our our reactions, people's opinions about Then Mikel Arteta was asked how he felt when the clean sheet record went, and he said, "A pain in my tummy because I do not want to concede any goals, and it was a goal, obviously, that was putting the game in a difficult position." Then he was also asked on whether he was annoyed with the players at halftime. He said, "It's not about that. No, we have to adjust certain things, and at the end, you have to create against opposition as well. They are here unbeaten for a reason, and they do what they do really, really well." Yes, and they do what they do really, really well, and they make it very difficult for you. You have to be very patient. You have to be dominant. You have to dominate certain things in order to earn the right to dominate the game in the manner that you want. We did much better in the second half, and that's true. Practically what we were saying, Arsenal looked much better in the second half as compared to what they looked like in the first half. You felt that in the first half they lacked the cutting edge, they were slow, and oftentimes when Arsenal are struggling to break defenses and teams that play with a low block, my challenge with them is oftentimes they reduce the tempo of the game so low that it's easy for the opponent to catch up, that it becomes easy for the opponent to catch up. And yet, when you speed up things, oftentimes you can't create those spaces. And practically that's what they did. Practically that's what they did in the second half. And it paid off. It paid off, really. So, anyways, it is what it is. They will learn their lessons off of that and go into the international break. Hope that they do not lose more players to injury during the international break. We know it's something that oftentimes happens, losing players to injury during the international break. They will hope that that's not the case. They'll have some players rested, of course. Some of their players won't be away, but some of those that will be away is Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, David Raya, Ebeleche Eze, Martin Zubimendi and Mikel Merino for Spain. I'm not so sure about Christian Mosquera, pairing up with Ecuador, but you'll have other players. Of course, Martin Odegaard won't be going, Kai Havertz won't be going, Gabriel Jesus, Victor Gyökeres, Noni Madueke won't be going, Gabriel Martinelli won't be part of that, Ben White won't be part of that, Julian Timber will be going away, the Dutch national team, Saliba will be away, same applies to Gabriel Magalhaes, of course their core team will be away, but they will hope that they do not pick up any injuries to add assault to injury to what already they've had to go through, given that they lacked today. So they'll be hoping that things are much different by the time they return after the international break. Tottenham Hotspur, who they face after the international break, will be hoping for the same thing, that the players that go away for international break do not pick up injuries to pile up on the ones that are already out. The likes of Muhammad Kudus, the likes of Dominic Solanke, Dejan Kulusevski, James Maddison, and all the others that have been out through injury, Lucas Bagville. So that will be the hope for most teams. We're into the 89th minute of the game, and it is still Chelsea 3, Wolverhampton under 0. Guys, come on, Wolves, score that one goal. Let's get the perfect score prediction. We've already gotten 2 predictions wrong, I think, today. 3, actually. Everton, Arsenal, and Arsenal, Everton, and Fulham. No, sorry, not Fulham. Fulham was playing up against Everton. But yeah, someone let us down in those predictions. But I think last weekend we got 50% of our predictions right. Only one was a perfect score prediction. So far today we've not yet gotten any perfect score predictions, but we've gotten some predictions right. Garnacho has had a very good game. He's had a very, very wonderful game. Agbe, I think, might go down as his best performance in Chelsea colours. Stand to be corrected, but I think could go down as such. Robert Sanchez looking to keep his 50th clean sheet of the season. We have 4 minutes of added time. And Jamie Giddens, who scored against Wolves, did he score? Yeah, against Wolves in the EFL Cup 4th round. Would want a test of this as well. Garnacho tried to go for it first time, but went into a wall. Blocked. Kukorea. Giddens. Uh-oh. You know, come to think of it, Estava is only what, 18? We're almost getting done here. We're into the final minute of added time. It's all finished. Chelsea 3, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Unfortunately, Wolves could not find the way through, and it's finished that way. No pains there, but still a Chelsea victory. So far, so good. A draw for Tottenham and Man United. We got that one right. Not a perfect score prediction. It was a 1-1 draw with Fulham. We got that one wrong. West Ham won 3-2 against Burnley. We got that prediction was 2-1. West Ham, we got the one for Arsenal wrong. We got in the one for Chelsea correct. Not perfect score prediction, but at least the prediction goes in Chelsea's way, and they are moved second on the Premier League table following that 3-0 victory against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So that's the result from that game. Anyways, guys, thank you, LFC. Thank you, Boss Royal. It's been a pleasure doing this. Have yourselves a blessed night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.